Welcome to the Love What You Do podcast. I'm your host, Doug Shapiro. These are the conversations that open doors to what's possible when you love what you do. Welcome to the Love What You Do podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Doug.
Absolutely. You're a design leader at Henrickson.
I'm design manager at Henrickson. I've been with company for, it's becoming 10 years. So I've been loyal, I've been happy, and it was really good for me to switch between the dealers, and I'm closer home. So when I started, I was like, what am I going to do with myself? All of a sudden, I don't have the commute, right?
Yep.
Because when you work downtown and you live suburbs, that's a quiet hike. So I did it for 10 years and I'm like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
Well, I know the team there. I've talked to enough of them. They're happy to have you. So
Thank you.
let's toss you some more questions to have a little fun in the beginning here. All right. How about this? If you could take any fictional character to dinner, who would you pick?
Who would I pick? I'm thinking about the favorite movies. You know what? I think it will be Forrest Gump.
Oh, that's awesome. What a cool answer.
That's one of the movies I can watch over and over again. The same like Godfather.
Yeah.
Those movies never get old. You can watch parts and pieces, and it's always cool. So that's one of my best one. And his disability and who he become, it's really inspiring. So
It is. That's probably a safer pick than anyone from the Godfather dinner. Once he starts tucking the napkin in his shirt,
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh,
leave the gun, get to cannoli, right?
that's a good answer there. Let's do another one. If you could bring back any childhood toy, what would it be? The blocks. Yeah.
No question. It was always the painting, drawing, and the blocks. We didn't have the Lego blocks back then in Poland. That's where I'm originally from. But that was always my favorite toy. Not those, blocks.
Blocks. That's awesome. I'm sure you have some good memories from those.
Yes.
Let's jump into it. I mean, you mentioned Poland. I know that you came here, maybe this is 20 years ago or so?
Over 30 years ago.
Over 30 years.
Yes, in
Wow.
March will be 33 or 34. Yeah,
Okay.
it's been a long time.
Wow. So the journey to Poland, what brought you here originally?
My husband won visa. Okay, so he won visa and we came here, three of us with the young child and without knowing language, no background, no culture background. It was overwhelming. I have to admit, it was really overwhelming. We had very little money. And I had a strong background in art and architecture from Poland, but it felt like I was starting from zero.
Oh, wow.
Because, you have to find your way through everything. You have to learn the language. You don't have anybody to ask the questions. That was the time before the internet. Right now, you can ask, right? ChatGPT, hey, tell me this, tell me that. It wasn't like that back then. But very early, I realized what is really important is to be authentic and being myself and stick to myself. And that really helped me and my family to go through the hard times with the courage and curiosity.
Yeah.
So that's how get us through.
So this journey from Poland to the US, is there a story in that journey that sort of captures maybe the whole experience? If there's one story that's like symbolic to that journey and what you went through, what would that story be?
The career-wise, it there are two stories that actually helped me with a lot of things.
Hmm.
So I was already working as interior designer for a dealer, and so this story is about actually like getting over myself and learning to laugh by, like from myself. Like I was in the large presentation. We're presenting something that was revolutionary at that time. It was way over 15 years ago.
Okay.
And I walk into the room, and it was like 60 people in the room. Okay, so you're a little bit frozen, intimidated.
So this is a client?
This is a client, yes. We
Okay.
were doing the presentation for a large communication company for the client. 60 people in the room, large group. And until today, I'm really thankful. I actually didn't know it was like over 200 people on the call because I will freeze, okay?
Wow.
And we walking them through the space. I'm talking about the floor plan, about the details. And one of the room, like on the floor plan, was like really large room divided by the hidden walls. And you call those accordion walls. I call them harmonica. Why not to? People smile, nobody laugh. And after the presentation, I asked my team, I'm like, hey, how was it? They were like, yeah, it went great, great responses from the client. By the way, Joanna, it's called accordion, not harmonica walls. But you were still playing your instruments, you were on musical note.
That's a witty follow-up. You were still,
So that was like realize me like I don't have to be that serious. I can
yeah.
loosen up and still be myself. And then the second story, it was the same client actually. It was really large project. Later on, we're on the huge global call, and the host mentioned, I know there were two females on the call, and he said, I know Joanna is on the call. Who is the other female? And I started laughing. And I'm like, you know what? This is me. I'm being authentic. I'm not being only recognized by what I said, but also by my voice and my accent.
Huh.
So that become actually my signature at this point. I'm like,
Wow.
get over yourself, laugh, and your accent is your signature. So those are kind of like my funny story that shaped me.
So I like this idea of your accent kind of embracing that as part of the signature Joanna that people experience. Um, it can, it does make you stand out in a very positive way. And it's funny, I had an interview with an Australian friend of mine, and
Hmm.
he was saying how he worked really hard to try to reduce his accent, and he did. And
Wow.
then now he regrets it. And it's kind of funny, that it's a good thing when you hit that fork in the road that you leaned into
Yes.
embracing your past and
You
all
have
the
to make a
things.
decision, right? Like which way are you going to be yourself, being authentic to yourself and own like your own personality, or you're just going to try to blend?
Yeah.
I was talking to my brother. He has very unique name and you cannot translate it. Uh, and he was working for Japanese company, like corporation. And every single time when he met with people from Japan, he was trying to come up with the name that is easy to remember. And, his name is Przemysław, okay? It is not easy to even pronounce.
Sure.
And finally we were talking and I told him, I'm like, why are you changing your name? This is your name. Own it.
Yeah.
And he said, you know what? Let's try it. And he started doing it. And the funny story is, everybody knew him because of his name. So people
Wow.
who knew him, who knew how to how to pronounce his name, were always making fun in the background, like, let's see how this guy will react. What will be reaction if they will try to even pronounce it.
So this is you're bringing me into the rosy side of this whole story, but I feel like you kind of skipped over the first 10 years and you jumped right to the aha moment, right?
Yes,
But
I did.
what about the first 10 years?
They were hard. They were overwhelming. And for me, it was very hard a decision what to do, how to move forward. Do I want to invest in myself, or do I want to, save for my child and raise him and, invest in him? And I remember when I talked to my husband, I decided, you know what, it is time. I am ready. My language is not perfect, but let's try. Let's go back to college and let's try having career. And after we talked to the coordinator, I left crying. Like,
Oh,
how am I going to do it? Like, how this is possible between work, between my child, between home and the money, where I'm going to find the money for all of that. But the determination and the drive, it helped me to go through it, and family helped me to go through those hard times. And I started very, very early start, like networking and looking, what I really can do. And I was actually aiming, maybe I can be the cut drafter, and just drafting the AutoCAD before I finished studying. And I started networking, and I found, people. I had my portfolio ready before I even finished the school. So, after the conversation, she gave me few of the, contacts, and I started interviewing, and I got a job as interior designer at the dealer without even finishing the school.
wow.
So I have to go back. My program coordinator, she was like, I don't know what to do with you because you already have portfolio. We still have to go through the program, right?
Yeah.
So at that point, is as much as cool it was, you working full job, you're starting the new job, and you're still studying. You still have to finish your classes. So yeah, that wasn't easy path, but it was done, and you feel like some pride when it's done, once you finish it.
Yeah. I know Henrickson has like finding Henrickson and how they've supported you. You've been
They
a
did.
big fan of that.
Yeah, they did. I started with Environetics, which doesn't exist anymore. It become after 8 months we become Office Concepts, and I was terrified that I'm still going to have a job
Oh, wow.
because like you, this fresh designer, are they going to take you on board? And they did. And after over 10 years, I decided to switch because of the commute. And I always wanted to go to Henrickson. I heard great things about the company. And what was holding me, it was actually the software. Because at that point, Henrickson wasn't using the software that we use as the dealer designers, the CET. And the minute I saw HNI, All Steel, Han, they have their extensions, I'm like, okay, this is the good move.
Yeah.
And then 2 months later, I got a job, and that's how the journey started.
Nice.
And they always support me. I always had the ideas. So I'm joking like with my husband when I come and I say, hey, I have idea. And my husband's like, how much is gonna cost me? I'm like, they're 2 days of your work. Here at the leadership, they like, okay, talk to us. Talk
Yeah.
to us. Let's explore those ideas. Let's see what we can do. They not always, going to execution, but I have a full support of the leadership.
Yeah. Yeah. I can feel that in you when you talk about them. You just light up, and so I knew that was a topic of pride that you have in what you do and who you do it with.
I'm always saying, dealership is the same, the different people, it's the same stuff, the same stress. It's just a matter of people, and I've been lucky, working for that organization, and we keep growing. So,
So I kind of want to put a, there's other things I want to explore, but I kind of want to put a capstone on, the journey that you've went through, and make sure we've caught all of it, because I know a lot of it, your immigration from Poland to the US, your decision to pursue school again, your decision to pursue a career, and then being in the career, all the insecurities around, you know, are you going to be able to do this?
Yeah.
Is language going to be a barrier? Would, what's your recipe for anybody that's feeling insecurity, that's feeling, maybe that shyness is getting in the way of what they could do? What's your recipe for them?
I mean, like most of us, we having those imposter syndrome. I'm introvert, and the culture, different culture was as well was very hard to overcome, and the language was the biggest part of it. But once you realize, like, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to do things, right? You just have to show up. And this podcast is the example. It's outside of my comfort zone, but I still show up and I'm still doing it
Yeah.
because I'm passionate about things. So, the curiosity and the courage, that's what get me through, and being kind for myself and forgiving myself a lot of things. Like, what is the worst that can happen,
Yeah.
right? And I'll give you the example. I was on a networking event, and there were people, big shots from large manufacturers, and I'm like, oh, this person sounds interesting, but I don't know her, so I'm not going to approach it. And somebody said, why not to go over and introduce yourself? And I'm like, you know what? That was that bulb, like that moment. You're right.
Yeah.
What can happen?
Yeah.
What the worst can happen? They reject me? Okay, let's move on, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I'm saying when people making fun of my accent, I'm like, it's your problem, not mine.
No, I can't. It's hard to imagine that you still face that.
Once in a
But you
while,
do,
there,
huh?
people are people. So once in a while that you come across, but just keep laughing and
Yeah.
go over it.
Yeah.
That's like I said, that's their problem, not mine.
I do think there's something about the networking that you're
Hmm.
touching on that I've thought a lot about too, which is, that everybody, regardless of their status, whether they're the CEO or they're a junior designer or anything in between, everybody wants the same thing. They all want validation. And
Hmm.
then once you realize that, that's, I feel like, the key to networking is that CEO that you may feel like your validation is beneath them,
Hmm.
like they're not interested in my friendship because I'm just me.
Yes.
And that's not true. In fact, I feel like sometimes they're the ones that get the least amount, you know.
Exposure, right, to what the real world is behind, their big cabinet, like big office, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like when you get to that place of, realizing that your validation is just as important as anybody
Mhm.
else's that you can offer. When you offer that, that becomes your kind of networking key.
And when you enter a room with the positive attitude, right, it just lights everybody
Yeah.
all around you,
Just
right?
like when you walked in those doors.
When you walk in and you're like, oh, goodness gracious, it's horrible weather, I'm not feeling well. It's just everybody brings you down. When you walk in and you say, I'm a huge fan of saying good morning, like even if it's not good morning, okay? It is still, it's the kindness, it's the respect to others to welcome somebody.
Yeah.
And when you walk into the room and when you expose your feelings like that, people will react to it. And again, being authentic as well. You can't fake it. It needs to be something that is authentic, that is you, without, making you trying something too hard.
Yeah. Can I ask about this authenticity of like the self-realization, leaning into who you are, owning everything about yourself? Do you feel like when you've made that change, you turned that corner, did you become a better designer?
I think so, because I was more open to the client.
Hmm.
I was more, I wasn't afraid to say what I think. And, in those meetings, the client, and that's what the power of designer is here. You're not sales, you're not trying to sell them something. You having their best interest, in your mind, so they feel it, they know it, right? And I start speaking up a little bit more and advising them. And this is actually, like part of the interior design that I love the most is just the finding solutions.
Hmm.
Because when people are like, no, 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 but I can't do this because of that. Okay, I understand it, but here is the solution. Would you accept this one? And then start building that, relationship.
Yeah.
And it's funny story. We were preparing for the large dealer interview, and I was talking to one of our principals. He retired, but we're talking, and I was like telling him how I'm planning to present myself. You have only a few minutes, right, to say something about you, about your dealer, about the company, about the project, so it makes you memorable. And I told him what I'm planning to say, and he looked at me. He's like, Joanna, you know what? Flip it. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, instead of saying you the only one on the team with the accent, say it, you the only one on the team without the accent. And guarantee every single time, it never failed me since then. Every single time they start laughing, they
Yeah.
just can't. And
It's
and
actually, it's
I
good. It's good.
it's just building that connection,
Yeah.
and remembering you at the time, at the end of this interview. That what makes you again unique, different.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really cool. That's really cool. There's a concept we've been exploring around how different people have different energies and different people bring different perspectives and histories
Mm.
together. And when you create that blend, um, and you have all of those together, you build something really special. What's your energy? What's your differentness outside of um, outside of your upbringing? What's your different energy that you bring? And how do those differences create a better team?
Team, I don't know, but definitely looking from the perspective of what is today, it's the problem, and you stressing about this. You wake up tomorrow, a week later, a month later, a year later, and you're like, what? Why I was stressing about? It's not a problem anymore. And having that perspective and a little bit of reserve, having the understanding, yes, let's resolve the problem, let's find out solution, but trying not to over stressed about this. Yes, I'm very impatient, okay? We all stress about things and we all reacting to things. But, like having in the back of your mind when once you cool down, okay, it will be okay. It will be okay tomorrow, whatever the problem is, we will resolve it. We will find a solution. It's just the furniture, right?
Yeah.
It's not one, and people are not dying because they don't have the chair, right?
Yeah.
So I think having that perspective, and always trying to pause. I'm not always successful. Believe me, I am not always
Sure.
successful. Sometimes I'm reacting and it's coming out. But I found this a little bit solution when I'm really boiling inside. Let's type that email. Okay, let's type it. Let's just put all your emotions, and then let it sit. Do
Yeah.
not have anybody, addressee. Let it sit. And then 2 hours later, like, what I was thinking.
Yeah. The all that all caps right there. I really need to tone that
Oh,
down. Yeah.
I'm always in caps. We designers, we always in
That's
caps.
a good,
I'm
yeah.
always saying, I'm not yelling, I'm just in caps. So When I'm starting new project with a new salesperson, never to the client, but
Yeah.
with the new salesperson, I'm like, I am not yelling. Please excuse my cups.
Please excuse my caps. That's really funny. Uh, that's pretty good. So your energy is one of patience in the right places, which I think is good. That's important. Um, I have a few notes of just kind of like what's helped build you. Your history in art and architecture, I know, is something that you bring into your work. How does it show up?
What do you mean?
Like, having studied, being an art student
Hmm.
and being in the commercial design world is not really the normal linear path. I mean, having that history
Oh, yes.
in
Yeah.
art, and I wonder if
The
there's
story
elements
behind
to
that.
the art passion that shows up in your work.
You know what? I finished the specific art school in Poland. And then I study architecture and I work in a really large architectural firm. So I have that real life, background. When I came here and when I start looking at the what I can do with my life, with my creativity, what I will enjoy, because our work for me it's important. The people you are with are important because you're spending so much time with them. Almost the same time as you spending sometimes with your family. So that was the early days on famous AGTV, trading spaces.
Yeah.
But something, when I start watching those shows, something clicked. And it wasn't the, picking the paint color or, arranging the furniture. It was finding a solution. That's what I really love about it. And I never was drawn to the residential that I knew from day one, this is not for me. Corporate, workplace, that's what I really wanted to do, like the big and massive. And, art is a little bit unstable.
Mm.
Architecture is very rigid. So interior design is just click. It was right there with my creativity, with my constant, I have idea. Like I told you before, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I'm not the one saying I have idea today. You had a great idea. And it always drives me. And I have tons of passion and drive. That's what keeps me going,
Yeah.
being curious and keep learning. And I'm truly believer if you challenge yourself every day a little bit by learning something, by doing something that you're not fully comfortable doing, right?
Yeah.
You learning from it and you moving forward.
So what's your next big challenge? Like if you're challenging you know, version of you that's 5 years from now,
Oh,
what's the
saving money probably.
saving money? That's your big challenge
Saving
now.
money. Money will be the biggest challenge
That's not
because
fun. Let's talk about how to spend money.
I
That's way more
I I
fun.
love travel and this is my weakness. I love travel. I love planning the traveling. So this is always like, like this kitchen or this can wait. Let's do this. This sounds exciting. So I love to travel.
Where's the
I
best place you've
absolutely.
been? Like,
Um, Few Hawaii. It's one of my
oh
favorite.
yeah.
Last year we went to Portugal,
Nice.
and it was great trip, very well planned. I spent 2 weeks in Portugal. We flew to Madeira. I made so many friends to the point I'm still texting my taxi
Oh,
driver
get out.
for a Christmas.
That is awesome. Are
Like,
you kidding?
like, we exchanging, and people who are going to Lisbon, I'm like, hey, I have this great cab driver, hire him for 200, 300 euro. He will take you to Sintra. He will show you everything. So that trip
Wow.
was absolutely amazing. And when I travel, I really love the thrill about planning, the
Uh-huh.
the trip. Yes, there is a chat GPT and all AI, but I still like to do it my own way.
Yeah.
I like to learn a little bit of the language of the country that I'm going to. So not to walk into the store and start blopping in English, assuming, everybody can understand you. We travel really to the rural area. I've been to the places who my friends who live in Portugal, they were like, where did you go? I'm like, don't even ask me. Next time you will have to probably pay me to go to that place because it was scary. It was so up high. But, like I like to build those trips around what we like.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I'm always like trying to know a few words. And it become helpful, because when you walking in and you start asking them in their own language, the reaction is different. And, after asking
Yeah.
the initial, I'm like, okay, that's when my Portuguese ends. I still remember obrigada, like for everything. But it's just people react a little bit differently and they're more helpful. And it become, really helpful, especially like I said, we were in the areas where people didn't speak English. When I come back, I talk to my Portuguese friends and, I already forgot those words, but I said what I was like. I was introducing myself and all of it. They look at me and they like, Joanna, you have a beautiful accent. Brazilian, but beautiful.
Brazilian. So
Brazilian,
they're
yeah,
calling
because
your Portuguese
yeah,
Brazilian. That's good. That's good.
because there's a lot of Brazilians in Portugal. They speak the
Sure.
same language. So yeah, definitely, and going to those places, the hole in the wall, how I call them.
Yeah.
That's the best restaurant, the
Oh
best
yeah.
food, the best experience versus touristy things that you can find. So there's a lot of research that is going to. And at the end of it, when I'm still living those travels, I like to make the book out of it.
Yeah.
So after that, I spending weeks basically preparing the photo books, and
Wow.
with all my memories.
That's awesome. I feel like there's this thread of like authenticity, like getting to the, like you said, the hole in the wall restaurant that kind of goes through your life. And obviously there's this thread around language too and how important that
Yeah.
is to you.
Yeah.
Um,
And people, like people are great in learning their culture, learning people, and oh, the food is the another
of course.
another
I'm
part of
alive
it.
to eat. Like that's it. That's the only thing. Like when's my next meal? What am I having? It's bad. It's bad. Um, this was really fun. I feel like, like I get to be in your circle now. Like I feel
Oh,
honored.
that's
Kind of
great.
like that taxi driver. Like, hey, now I'm someone that Joanna can text.
I would
Like
love that.
I really I'm just honored to be in your circle. I is there
Thank you.
Are there stories that we haven't heard yet? Is there anything like a that you'd hope to share that I haven't yet uncovered? Because I feel like you're full of great stories.
Uh, no, the last, like, I think 2 years ago, it was one of those, like when you learn something, like, and decided to go that path. That was the Neocon Design Days. I was at the no, actually, it was here in this building in All Steel showroom. And I saw one of the furniture designer, like, I recognize him because I watched the YouTube videos. And I'm like, I walk in and I introduce myself and we start talking about his design. And then we connected on LinkedIn. And my friend, she looked at me, she's like, how did you know who he was? I'm like, I watched, some of the, especially through the COVID, you watch a lot of, like, you connect more with people
Yep.
on camera. And I watched one of the webinars and I still remember him. I still remember his first and last name. And I'm like, yeah, that's an opportunity, to introduce yourself. And so I'm really living by, what I preach to how this whole thing changed me. And I am not afraid anymore, like I said, what the worst thing can happen?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you obviously you love what you do.
I
Um,
do. Yeah.
um, any love what you do advice that would wrap this up?
You know what? Besides being yourself, don't stand behind. Don't wait for permission. You have a lungs, there is air, breathe it. You have a wings, fly it. Like don't wait for others to tell you what to do, what you are, what you can or can't do. When people telling you, oh, you're too old to do this, who are you to make that decision?
Yeah.
You're never too old. You're never too weak. You're never too something, right? Be yourself and have that courage.
I love it. Well, thank you for joining. I know this
Thank
took some
you.
courage, so I
It took a
appreciate
lot
it.
of courage. This is not my comfort zone.
You nailed it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining me here on Love What You Do.